Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to be building out a component class. Originally, I was going to put this in our modules, but to be honest, I kind of want this to be part of the core of the framework. So we are going to be using Bootstrap here. So you'll need this later. You can go to getbootstrap.com and then go to the docs and introduction, and that'll get us started. Okay. So, I'm going to create a new file in our core folder. I'm going to call this format.core.php. I'm also going to create a helper for us, so I'm going to create a helper module.php, and we'll come back to this module later. You know what? We'll build out this module first, just because it's only a single function right now, and we'll add more functions this later. PHP and then class helper, and say public static function is asop, and this will be an array and type of array, and then just that count array filter array keys for the array, and then we'll say is string, and then we'll say is greater than 0. So basically, if there is a single array string that's a string for the key, then we know it's an associative array, and it will be 1 or more. If it's not, then there won't be any sort of string keys, and it will return 0. Okay, so we'll be using that in this class here that we're going to be building. It's a component class. So we're going to be building out some protected variables here. So I'm just going to open up my PHP and say class component, and we're going to say protected $tag, and then $attributes, and I'm set that equal to an empty array, then protected content underscore, and I'm gonna set that equal to an empty string, and then I'm gonna say protected $children. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a constructor here, and this is going to take in the tag, and then we're going to take in content if there is content. So we set that equal to an empty string by default, and then attributes, and that's going to be an empty array by default. And then we're just going to be using some setters here. So I'll assign this tag, this underscore content, attributes, and that's all for our constructor. We're also going to create a public function set attributes, and it's just going to be a key value. It's just going to return the function public function remove attribute. And we probably won't ever actually use these functions. I'm just using them as utilities just in case. And then public function end, and this will be a child, and it will just create an array for the children, or add to the array for the children technically. And then we're going to create a render function. Render, and we'll say $@ is equal to an empty string, and then we'll say if it's set, and then this attributes, should be underscore attributes actually, and then we're going to do a for each, and I don't like the way that this is at, so we're going to do single quotes instead for the key value. And so what this will do is it'll loop through the attributes array, the key will be like class, and then the values would be classes that could be added to it. Or the key could be like value, and the value could be the actual value. Or the key could be like required, and value could be true. Essentially, these are HTML attributes, and it's adding it and creating it to a string. And so this will automatically append that. We're also going to use our assoc function. So, and helper is assoc. Just see if the attributes is assoc. If it's not set, or it's not it's not an associative array, then it's just going to skip it. And then we'll say $content is equal to $this content. And then what we'll do is we'll say if is set $children, then we'll just loop through the children and render the children. And so this would be like other tags that are on the inside of the whatever's being rendered out here. And then finally, we'll just return this tag. So as I said earlier, we're going to be using Bootstrap. So I'm just going to copy this. And inside our layouts, I'm just going to replace this H1 here and grab this. Place this H1, save that. And then we'll just double check to make sure that this is rendering out, which it is. As you can see, the styles have changed. Okay. Now we'll go to out of components and helpers for now. And default layout, just delete that. Now, nothing should be rendered. So let's just double check to make sure nothing is actually rendered. As you see, nothing's rendered. Okay, so we can create a component. So we say $div is equal to new. And then we'll just say div, and then we'll say test, and then we'll say class, add some stuff into this class. So we could say bg-primary, do jumbotron text-center, b-5, 4, I guess. Okay. We refresh that. Oh, I'm dumb. I forgot to actually render. So if we do $div render, wait a moment. Actually, echo this. There we go. There we go. So now that this is working, what if we want to add stuff into this? So for instance, what if we wanted to add an H1? Well, we can do $H1 is equal to new component H1 hello world. And then we can do child div append, and then H1, save that. This now adds an H1 into. And let's say that we want this to be empty, and just to wrap this H1, as you see, it wraps the H1. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what's the point of doing this, right? Well, we can actually create a components library and sort of create our own style of components. So we create a new folder called components, like so. And we'll go into our Bootstrap, say else if, say file underscore exists, and we'll just copy this modules, and we'll change this modules to components, change this to ornament, like so, and then just require this. So now if we go into this components and we do new file, say button.component.php, so we can do something like this. We do class button extends component like so, and we're not going to actually create a render function. Instead, we're going to use a construct. We're going to do a public function. So then we'll do parent construct, and then we'll say button. We can pass $sign content, sign attributes, and then we can say $sign content and $sign attributes, and we set this to an empty array like so. That, and now say that we want to append a button here. Well, we can do so. So we'll actually be new. Yeah, we'll say hello world, and we do btn dash return. Just change this to me. So, button found. Oh, I see what's going on. So, let's do it the best way. Just do. Still going to cause a problem because it's going to say that button doesn't exist. Button is too thinking that it's going to say that button doesn't exist. Yeah, it's going to give me that error. Exists root slash. Here's the problem. Minutes. Button. Rename that to a component. Parent. I'm going to spell parent. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, it's rendering out this div. It's also rendering that click me. Now, if we do something like this, and we'll change this to danger, and then button. So do $sign up. To div $sign button. And it may, yeah, okay. So it's actually doing this because after here, if we return, we don't have to return, we just do this render, and then there we go. It's not going to do that. But if we echo button, that's going to, awesome. Yeah, it is. So there's an easy way to fix that. What we can do is by default, we can pass this set that equal to false by default. Do echo this render else. Back again, we don't need the return. Force of habit. Okay. So now we refresh. So by default, it's set the true. We're going to set it's not going to be there. If I do. So there we go. Perfect. And so we can create our own style components like this. Now, obviously, you can add on. This button's sort of just a demonstration on how the components would work. But this will allow you to create your own custom components, and then you can include them into your views without actually having to write much HTML yourself. Now, we're going to be adding onto this eventually, creating our very own form component library, and so it'll use this component library and add on to this, allowing us to create custom forms and all without rendering any HTML ourselves. It'll all be done using PHP. Anyways, that's going to be all for this video, and I will see you in the next video. And I think in the next video, we'll actually be going over our email. So we'll be going over sending and receiving email and creating our own module for that. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.